Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, Wise.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, W-I-Z-E, and I have a very special guest. She's a meditation coach for entrepreneurs. Welcome to the show, Wendy Nash.
Thank you very much. Just before we start, I like to do two things.
Okay.
So the first one is to say thank you very much for having me on your show. And also thank you to our listener for listening and being part of this, because without you, we actually can't be here.
This is
And
true.
also the people who have provided the technical equipment and previous guests that you've had and future guests and all the people that I talk with. And it's, everybody who is part of this large podcasting world is all connected to this episode in small or large ways, either through expertise or everything. So everyone contributes. And I really like to say thank you to everybody who sort of has a craft that they like to whittle in order to make everyone else's lives a little bit more easy. So thank you very much for everybody for being part of this. And the second thing I like to do is I always like to recognize that I'm calling from Aboriginal country. So in Australia, Aboriginal people have been living here for 70,000 years. And to put that into context, Christianity's been around for 2,000 years, and I'm Buddhist, so 2,500 for Buddhists, but it's basically 35 times as long as Christianity. So there's a lot of observation about where we are, what works, what doesn't, how things come together, how people are at their best, how to get it all working well. And it's actually the oldest living continuous society in the world. So clearly they've done some things that were really good and beneficial. So to say thank you very much. And one of the things that I find is really good, actually there's a couple of things that I really like from Aboriginal communities and the way that they've been thinking about this land. So I'm on Gubbi Gubbi country, and is that there's a really strong philosophy that it's not until you know where you have come from that you can really understand and take on board what you want to think about, what you want to include, what you want to leave behind for where you are now. And those together really say something about, well, this is where I want to go ahead. This is where I want to go forward. So I really like that idea of having a very long perspective. And now is just this moment in the middle of a whole other series of nows from the beginning of time. And what I like about, another thing that I like about Aboriginal communities, and I'm white, so I don't want to encroach on other people's knowledge, but from what I've heard, basically, instead of humans being the center of the universe and center of the planet and existence and dominating the world, actually they say that we are connected to everyone and everything. So you've got the earth and the land, the rocks, the air, the clouds, the stars, the animals, other people, fish, everything is connected, and we are just one part of that very large system. And I think when it comes to this work here, to know that we come with a past and it gives us a bit of an idea about where we're going, and also that we are just part of a very large ecosystem, really helps to set a nice frame for discussing, where do we sit in the middle of things, and how connected do we feel to what's going on with us. So I always like to start with that. So thank you very much, Wise, for that introduction.
It's my pleasure to have you. It's when I read your profile, I was like, definitely looks like someone I would love to have on my show. So
Fantastic.
thank you for being here. Actually, I appreciate it. Okay, so let's get this started. All right, so Oh, my one of my good friends. He's a loyal listener. My friend Obama. He says, "Peace. How are we doing? I'm doing well, my brother. How are you doing?" Wendy, would you like to let him know how you doing?
Well, it's just about 8 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm still waking up a bit. I have been awake for a few hours, but I've got a cup of tea and I've got my water. But I'm good. I'm in good spirits, and I was dreaming about what I was going to do when I win the lotto this week. So that's cheered me up and also made me really nervous.
Oh, shout out to my man Brian Snow for sharing, for saying what's up, for stopping by. Oh yeah, he said, he goes, "Wow, it's 8 a.m." Yeah, she's in Australia, my brother. Yes. See, this is an international podcast. I have guests from all over the world. So, all right, so let's get this started. Um, like you mentioned, you're Buddhist. Does does someone have to be Buddhist to meditate?
Does someone have to be Christian to pray?
No,
Okay, it's the same.
I was just asking. I
That's all
know,
right.
because I'm not Buddhist and I meditate, so I know the answer. I was just letting
People
you
ask, and I'm always like, "How does that work?" But I do think, there is a lot of stuff. I didn't mean to be rude or anything,
know.
but
It's fine.
there is a lot of. I just sort of thought, well, not really. Why would that be the case? And there has been kind of a pulling out of meditation, which is a religious practice, into the secular world. You have the mindfulness, clear your mind stuff, and sit still, and all that. So there has been a lot of stuff, and John Kabat-Zinn was really important as part of that in terms of pain management, and Steve Jobs was also really important part of that as part of the corporate take on. So there has been a lot of secularization of it. So a lot, that is a contentious issue in the Buddhist world, is the secularization of meditation and mindfulness. But I think people are people, and excuse me, and basically since the beginning of the time, everybody's had some kind of practice to calm the mind. And how to be a kinder person. Humans are often not very kind to each other, so we need to train ourselves
Well,
to not be toddlers.
a lot of humans aren't kind to themselves either. So that's one thing. That's one thing I really I harp on, is self talk. It's how you talk to yourself, and that to me is big, because a lot of people who really mistreat themselves. They really say
you
some
know
horrible things to themselves.
and there's this idea, I'd never speak to anybody else in the same way that I speak to myself. But I want to put it here. How many people who speak unkindly to themselves actually say horrible things to their children? And I think we do actually speak unkindly to each other, as unkindly as we do to ourselves. It may not be as overt, but I think the kinder you speak to yourself, the kinder you speak to others. So, and that takes practice. We're not trained in this. And I think it's really important to practice how you, and I think, it's not like something we have to do. So one of my big things is really looking for the kindness that is around here everywhere. And our topic today is how to see the world more kindly without wearing rose-tinted glasses. And this is the beginning of that conversation. It's something really dear to my heart, because I felt so shortchanged by life and hard done by. And look, there were some really complicated, unpleasant things about my life. I'm not saying I was without pain. So, but what I just couldn't see how many people were being kind to me, and I would be sort of almost because I identified with the voice that was the way that I was speaking to myself. If I'm sort of down on myself, I can't really see what other people are doing that is kind.
Oh yeah, I feel you. I know what you're talking about. Because there was a time when, because I was widowed at 31, and then after that I had reconnected with my dad, only to lose him a year later. And then I've lost two brothers, aunt and uncle that helped raise me, and I was angry. I was
mm,
angry,
mm,
just was just angry.
mm,
And then one day it hit me. It's like, why are you so angry over things you had no control over? You're angry and you're not treating people the right way. You're
mm,
especially not treating yourself the right way because I was self medicating,
mm,
drinking,
mm,
partying, not caring about
mm,
anyone. And so when I started realizing, like, what am I doing? Why am
mm,
I doing this?
mm,
The switch flipped. So I sought the help that I needed to help me
mm,
combat the anger. Um, I started really I started really talking to spirit and really finding myself and just changing my mindset because again I was angry and I didn't care about anyone or anything, especially myself. So to be able to get back to where I was at, because my wife had prepared me by introducing me into the world of self development and stuff like that. And I but at that time when I was grieving, I didn't care
mm,
about any of that.
mm,
And so finally when I changed my ways and got back to grow self development and learning and growing, things started changing. Things
mm,
started changing for the better. Um, I I I remarried. I'm married to a beautiful woman who's amazing. She's an amazing spirit. I have a pretty good career, and now I've found my passion with podcasting. I've
mm,
found my voice. I've found
mm,
what I want to do because I know I can make an impact with what I'm doing on my podcast,
mm,
especially with the content that I'm putting out. When
mm,
I had started, it was 2020. The pandemic was here. We had a lot of racial tensions here in the United States with the George Floyd situation and Ahmaud Arbery stuff.
mm,
And I didn't want to put out content that was negative. I wanted to focus on more bringing people on to share
mm,
their stories and have people listen to their stories and see that, hey, regardless of what we're going through in our lives, you can overcome that
mm,
and you can face these adversities. So that's why Stuck in My Mind was born.
mm. Well, well done you. So if is it okay if I can I
Yeah,
inquire a little bit into that, or
sure.
just I just want to kind of refer to it. So I wanted to say I'm really sorry to hear about all your family members. It's my sister died of terminal illness, and my then there were three grandparents who died, and then my father died. He got symptoms, and then he didn't go to the doctor, so of course he died at 46. So I was 13, and that was the last of four deaths in the family. And we were in Australia. My grandparents were actually in the UK. But of course, my parents were absolutely grief bound, especially after the death of my sister. There's just no space for anyone when there is death. That's kind of grief sucks all the air. And I remember thinking, I was on a meditation retreat and I was thinking, it's like a moonscape. All the color evaporates. It's it's such an it's like the life really gets sucked out. So thank you for talking about it, and I'm deeply sorry for all that you have gone through, and I do get it to an extent. And I also have been thinking about my own ancestry, about racism and stuff like that, and I see that as a white person, and also my parents and also me, the racism. And I do also say sorry for the racism that my ancestors and also me have done. So I just want to acknowledge that, not to grandstand or anything like that, but just to acknowledge that I have also played a part in that, and I am very sorry for the harm that people have caused.
No,
So
you can't. It's like people want to bash bash other people's ancestors for what they did, and to me, it's more like as long as you shouldn't have to apologize for what people did in the past. That's in the past. That's where it's supposed to stay. So for me, it's just like I just wanted to focus more on positive energy. I wanted to put
yeah,
out more positive energy than anything because there was enough negativity going on, especially with the politics here and
yeah,
the election and all that here. I just wanted to focus on creating positive content. Wanted to
Y-
focus on helping people.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing that I think is really important about how to be positive, but kind of with integrity. So you do have to acknowledge, like when you it was so you went through this enormous grief, and then you had to acknowledge you were in this grief and it had had a huge impact.
Yeah.
And it had an impact on you, and it had an impact on your ex wife, and it had an impact on the people around you. And there is a really important role for saying sorry about that. And I guess I was thinking about, Aboriginal people are really, ancestry is really important. And so I was
It
coming
is.
kind of from that angle, not to I'm not taking responsibility for their behavior, but to
I know
acknowledge that they have that
that.
my parents are English, and it's like, if you want to see true bastardry, you go to the English. I I was always raised with this idea that the English had some kind of moral rectitude, and I love that in my understanding about the George Floyd thing. Actually, I there was a podcast called Seeing White. I don't know if you know about it. I can't remember who were the two gentlemen, but one was white and one was black. And one of them, the black guy, says, "So what's so good about being white?" And I thought, what is good about being white? And we don't do anything much good at all. We're no good at anything, and maybe that's why we're so mean.
You know what? At the end of the day, we're just all humans. We're all human beings. To me, like I don't see color. Honestly, I have friends from all walks of life, and I was raised by my mom to treat people the way I wanted to be treated, and that's how I've gone my whole entire life, is treating people the way I would like to be treated. So for me, it's I can't. I've experienced some racism in my life, but not to the degree where a lot of people have felt it. And
Yeah,
so I've like I said, I just judge people on the way they interact with me.
yeah,
I don't go by what anyone says or about what anyone else says about that person, because they might just have interact with that person in a different way because of a situation they might have. So for me, I just treat people the way they treat me. And if we go in with a if I go like there was a situation at work, and there was a gentleman that I was having problems at work with, and I decided I was like, maybe it's not him, maybe it's me. And so I decided to approach it in a different way. And when I did that, things I wouldn't say we're friends, but now we're in a place where we can coexist at work, because I decided I was going to go in with the mindset that, you know what, I'm not going to continue to combat this guy, keep combating with him and make myself miserable at work. I'm just going to go in with the mindset that, hey, I have no issues with him. I'm just move on. Whatever happened in the past is in the past. Just keep, just come to work and do what I got to do, and not focus on being angry at him or having problems with him. And since then, it's been good. We've actually come to actually talk more and stuff like that. So
yeah. So there are a few things I thought about with that. Is one of them one of them is, in Buddhism there's a meditation practice, and it sort of starts off, it's commonly the loving kindness meditation. Sharon Salzberg is very big into this. And there's one which is, m- may you be well, may you be happy, may be at peace. So somebody good, somebody you like, somebody who is you like, somebody who you don't know, like a stranger, or maybe somebody in the office, you just pass them in the corridor, but you see them around, but you don't kind of know who they are. And then somebody who is difficult, and then may you be well, may you be happy, be in peace, and then the whole world. So this is a very common practice. And then one time I realized I'm someone's difficult person. And that's what it sounds like you did. You're actually like, maybe me, I'm the one who's difficult here. So,
yeah,
and
so
yeah. And so the other thing to think about, I was speaking with a client this week, and she's got a boss who's really, really difficult, and quite complex personality stuff. And I said, what? So there is a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And what that means is you can either have, like the teacher, like the Dalai Lama, someone like that, and then the student gets that teaching, that teacher, or you can say an incident or a person. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. So this difficult person that she has is actually a teacher for her to become. How can she become a better person? How can she kind of not be, there's a saying, I'll be the better one. So not to be above them, but to be an equal with them in that experience. So to really learn about how to be kinder to yourself, to be kinder to them, and to recognize that you're actually a difficult person to them.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, it's changed their relationship. It's changed for the better, and it took me, like I said, it took me changing my attitude towards the situation. And so now I look at I look at all situations like maybe it's not that person, maybe it might be me. So let me see what I can do to correct in my within myself to rectify it, to make it go much smoother than it was. And sometimes it takes that. It takes you admitting to yourself like maybe I'm the cause of it.
Totally, totally. There's no two ways about it. Like I've been practicing. I was a really angry person 20 years ago, and yeah, I was getting everybody offside. I had a lot of trauma, I divorced, and everything I thought was right was wrong. And like, I was a mess. And I entered therapy, and I was like, okay, everything is up for grabs. I am ready to tear myself apart to figure out what's working psychotherapist. So that really, really, she was able to hold the space as I kind of deconstructed in a really lovely way. Not easy. I'm not saying I was nice to her, I was tough, but she gave me the space to be able to reorganize myself. And I actually, she was the teacher on one of my meditation retreats last year. And I said, it was a Q&A, so I couldn't disclose the nature of her and my relationship. But I said, 20 years ago, I used to have a very bad temper. I was angry all the time. But now no one thinks of me as being angry. So I
Well,
was sort of telling her that her work had been really beneficial. So it was my way of saying thanks to her.
because even from this conversation, I can't believe that 20 years ago you was a very angry person.
My partner this morning was telling me about a colleague of his, and she's like on the phone, and she's going, she yells down at people, and she's like, you should be doing this and you should do that. Da, 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 da. Like, what a bitch. And I thought, that's exactly, and I said, that's exactly what I used to feel like. And really, all it is like, I think I worked a few years ago with a woman. And one time, she came downstairs. She's in the finance team, and she came downstairs and she got her folders and she slammed it on the table and she said, "This was a waste of my time." She was the sort of person who she'd walk in and everyone would like get a coffee, go to the toilet, whatever. And so everyone was really scared of her, because when you're angry, you lose you're not good company. You are not a good person. But we sort of think it's going to solve our problem, and it so doesn't. It just causes more. But and I was going through a bad time. I'd split up with somebody, my partner, and I was having a bad time at work, and I was having a bad time at home, and I was in a country I didn't want to be in, and I just was having a really tough time. But I looked at her and I thought, I do not want to be like that. I just, use it or lose it. If you want to be an angry, grumpy, miserable old person when you're 110, well, you just practice being angry right now as much as possible. If you want to be someone who is respected, kind, thoughtful, and caring, Well, practice that right now, because when you're old, that's more of what you're going to do, because neurons that fire together wire together. Basically, use it or lose it. So, what are the characteristics of your personality? What capacities, emotional capacities do you want to have when you're old? Because when you're old, you don't have job, you don't have status, you may have money, you may not. You'll probably have a lot of health conditions. So you're going to depend on people, nursing staff and other people around, healthcare providers. How do you want to interact with them? And I think that's it kind of really brings things into sharp relief. I
Yeah.
found that anyway.
No, it does. It does. I agree with you on that. All right. So you help entrepreneurs with meditation. So what is it that you help them? You help them in their staff.
I help them just with themselves. So your business, you go to work. Do you have it sounds like you don't run your own business. Is that correct?
Well, I have my business, but I also have a 9 to 5 as well.
Okay, so you've got your business, Real Wise Productions.
Yes.
Right. So you have to interact with people. You've got guests, but you've also got probably marketing people and say, all sorts of different parts of that, people who actually do the work, all sorts of different parts of it. But you know what it's like when you start, and this was a really big, like, wow, this is a tough gig when you start your own business. It's much tougher than you think. And everyone says it's much tougher than you think. And you go, well, what does that mean? I'll be much better than that. That's what I thought. Ha ha. So I'm good at meditation coaching. Like, I'm good at that. I can help people unpack their minds. I can help them see where their blind spots are, how to understand who they are, and where that fits into the larger context. And what's kind of their true voice, what's the opinionated voice, and all that sort of stuff. If I was rubbish at them, I'm rubbish at the marketing and the sales stuff. Marketing is where your money is. Somebody's great at marketing but rubbish at their job, they'll make a gazillion million more dollars than me, because I'm completely rubbish at the marketing stuff. When I win the lotto, I'm going to get a really good marketing person.
Oh, but see, the thing with me is I know what my weaknesses are, and my team, we know what our strengths and what our weaknesses are. So I'm I when it comes, I do the editing, the video stuff, the technical stuff, and all that. That they when they have a question, they'll come and ask me. Then when it comes to like apps and promoting and marketing, that's Brandy. And then my nephew, he does his thing, and so we know our place. We know, like, I know I don't know everything. So if I don't know the answer to something, I am more than willing to go find someone that can help me with the answer.
Right, but when you run a business, everybody's going, you know what? If you do this and if you do that, and you should try this, and well, that idea is that they did that and they made $1 million, and these people got a gazillion clients through that way, and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like, and then this is what investors want, and this is what, and LinkedIn says a whole lot of stuff, Facebook says a whole lot of stuff, and there are tons of charlatans out there, and they all want your money, they all want your time, they all want your attention, and sometimes they're really sneaky, and sometimes they're really overt, and you go, yeah, anyway, sort of. But sometimes they're really sneaky, and it's like, well, how can you hear? And sometimes people have good intentions, but it's actually not a right fit for your business or for you. Maybe it's not quite what you need, or whatever. And so how do you hear your own voice in amongst all that? And it's really hard to hear your voice sometimes. Do you know what I mean? You're like,
Oh,
our past comes with us,
yeah.
and we've got a blind spot, and you keep running up against these, situations like that. This guy at work was difficult, but we keep running up with a difficult situation, like everybody, how do I say this? If you think of everybody as being a mirror to speak to you, the one common denominator in all your relationships is you.
Yeah.
And so you can, when you've got blind spots about how you interact with people, then you come up with the same problems again and again and again, because there's a blind spot you're not seeing. Or perhaps you have a way of thinking which is not really helping you. So maybe you're somebody who likes to help others, do work long hours, make sure it's a really thorough job, don't want to fail, feel guilty for not supporting people, something like that. Does that sound familiar?
Not within me.
Okay. Okay.
Not within me, because I'm for me, I'm kind of like, I like, I'm loyal. I support my friends. I support fellow podcasters. To me, it's, how do I expect anyone to support me if I don't support them? Like, my friend Obimi, who had been commenting earlier, he does T-shirts and cups and mugs and all that, and I could have easily went somewhere else and purchased it and stuff, but I wanted to support him, so I got him to make me mugs. He made me a couple of mugs, made me some T-shirts, because I wanted to support him. And since I shown him that loyalty, he's showing it back to me, because he's always showing up on my lives. He's always sharing my content. And that's what you're supposed to do. When you have a friend that starts a business or has a business, you support them. You don't go, because a lot of people, as soon as they see a friend have business, oh, can I get a discount? But if you was to go to a retail store somewhere else, you paying full price. So why not pay full price when you're working, when you're purchasing something from a friend? Why do
Yeah.
you need a discount? Why do you need a hookup? Support them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we were going to talk about how to see the world more kindly without rose-tinted glasses.
Yes.
I was just sort of thinking, oh, we should, like, I think that's really good. But I think there was something there in what you said, which is that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
And this is where meditation comes in, because that has a should. They should do that. And there is an emotion there underneath that is yearning to be known, which is, if I just get something for me, I will feel selfish, or something there. It sounds to me, I feel guilty. I feel guilty for only looking after my own needs. Something there, for not something. I don't know. You would I don't know. That's what I hear though.
No, it's it to me. Okay. So example, when I started doing my podcast and all that, and I had some amazing guests, and I said to a guest, I feel kind of selfish because I enjoyed these conversations so much, and they pointed out to me like, that's not selfishness, that's self love. And the fact that you're sharing this content, that shows you even more that you're not selfish, because you're sharing the content with other people out there. So no, that's self-love. And I'm thought about it, I'm like, no, that's true. But for some reason I thought I was being selfish because I was enjoying these conversations so much.
Right. So there's something there about, do I have do I have the right to enjoy myself? Do I have the right to? So here is like, it's actually an existential kind of. It has an existential flavor to it. Do I have the right to have enjoyment?
Yeah.
And to engage in, do something which I enjoy without it being about other people. Like, I know it was including other people, but there's something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What I'm saying?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's what that the guests kind of pointed out to me, was that. And because they're like, no, you're not. They're like, you need to get that out of your head. You need to stop thinking that way, because you're not being selfish. So
But what I'm kind of drawing to is something else. It's really just there's something about you negating your own um, capacity or your own yearning for delight.
yes.
That's what I'm kind of trying to point to here.
Okay. Okay. I
And
understand that.
yeah, and so we all have a yearning to have delight in our lives, to have joy. And I know that's kind
Happiness.
of
Yeah.
happiness, whatever you call it. Happiness. Actually, I'm leading a retreat this weekend, and I was looking up the word happiness, and happiness is associated with the word happen, as in happenstance. It's external and it's accidental and it's temporary. You can't really do anything to make yourself happier. It's very interesting because it's about how do you respond to the outside world. Whereas joy is something that you can foster internally. And that is something um, so if you want to see the world more kindly without rose tinted glasses, it's not to negate the bad stuff that happens there, but instead to shift slightly more to go, what's the good coming my way? So you don't want to down the bad stuff. You don't want to say, I'm not allowed to have bad stuff. I've got to always be good.
Oh no, that's one thing is it was what was it for me it was oh, I lost it but oh man but it was oh man how was I gonna say it? I'm lost now. It'll come back to me.
So I was talking about happiness and
Yes,
joy and um, offsetting the kind of negative, like, so there's a whole thing about being positive,
yes,
let's be positive. And I was raised in a household where, always think positively. But it was in this mire of death and grief and loss. And and there were all sorts of other things that were happening that were awful. Like I was being
yes.
bullied at school and other crappy, shitty things were happening. So I needed a place to be able to come forward and say, I'm having a really miserable time. And I need the empathy, I need the compassion here for me to have that. And so, what joy does, and this is what I was looking into yesterday, I was reading it. What joy does is it allows you to have enough buoyancy to receive what is here, which is really good. But then when somebody comes to you and says, I'm having a really shit day, it's like, don't worry about it. You don't say, don't worry about it, tomorrow it will be better. You say, wow, that sounds like you're having a really tough time of it. It sounds like you're really caring about, you know, your where you're at the moment. It's not a good space.
Mm,
And that's not a downer to me. That kind of opens up my heart and includes them within it, their pain within it, to hold the space to, but it's not about um, remaining in that downer, but
yeah.
it's about including that unhappiness because humans are naturally inclined towards delight and connection, but we just have these social things that get in the way that makes us want to argue with each other all the time and dislike each other,
Mm,
so, and be mean to each other. So um but that's the sort of difference between, I guess, happiness and joy.
yeah.
And so that basically is what I kind of want to say about how to see the world more kindly without wearing rose tinted glasses. That I'm hoping that answers your question. Does that?
No, no. It was okay. So for me, okay. So I had someone ask me one day, "Do I regret everything that happened in my life?" And they were surprised by my answer, and my answer was no. And they go, "Why?" I said, "Because regardless of all the pain and suffering I went through and everything I went through in life, it helped make me into the person I am today." I said, "I wouldn't wish it upon anyone else. Because I don't think, like I said, I wouldn't wish it on anyone else, but it's made me stronger. It's made me the man I am today to experience these things. And I felt that if I couldn't handle it, God wouldn't have put it in my path, wouldn't have put it on my shoulders to deal with it. So for me, I look at now I look at life and I cherish every moment. And there's days, yes, I'm down and I have bad days, but for the most part, I enjoy life. I enjoy what I'm doing. Like I said, I've been able to find my passion in doing my podcast and being able and finding my voice and finding that joy because I love doing this. This is to me the greatest experience because I've learned so much in these 2 years, especially about being a better person, especially with the conversations that I'm having, just like this one, which is a great conversation, and I'm learning from it. So for me, now it's like one of the greatest moments in my life because I'm learning and I'm having such a great time because I'm doing something I love to do.
Mm,
So now I
mm,
look at life, and so that's why I was able to, with the situation that I had at work, was really self reflect and be like, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me that is I'm having all these issues. Maybe I need to check myself and really look at it from a different perspective and look at it in a much positive light and be like, you know what, maybe I don't know what situation, what problems they're having. I don't know what they're going through in life. And so the empathy in me
mm,
decided to be like, you know what, let me just check myself. And like I said, it's improved
mm,
because I was willing to look within myself and see where am I going wrong in this situation
mm,
and where am I what do I have to do to improve it and make it so that when I'm at work I'm not miserable.
mm. Yeah, and I was in a miserable job a few years ago, and I went, if everyone won the lotto, about 4 people would turn up to work, which means that by the time people cross the threshold to get into work, they're already miserable. So I just thought, no wonder everyone writes really shitty emails. So, yeah, but I have a practice which I really has been absolutely beneficial, and that is, and I started this in about 2015, and it's absolutely held me steady through some really, really crappy times. And it is that when anybody does anything at all for me, for my well-being, to make my life slightly easier, is simply to acknowledge that and pause and to say, and if I can say thank you, if it's not the right place or time, to then I just keep it for myself and just go, they did do that for me, so that's nice. So it's something as simple as when you go to a meeting and someone's prepared documents for that. They've prepared the agenda, the papers, whatever it is. Someone takes minutes, for instance, just putting it out there, whatever form it is. And people have thought through what are the topics to go through, how to go about it, what are some basic ideas. Somebody has typed that up, someone has emailed it out, somebody has edited, reviewed, thought through. And that is to make this project, whatever it is, go well. And you, as somebody who is part of that project, it's to make your life easier.
Yeah.
And if you just spend your day going through all through your day going, what somebody has gone out of their way to make my life easier here. What is it? Where can I look? And that's not to say, so I had this situation where I was working for a woman, and I'm sure she was embezzling. I'm sure she was a fraudster, um, a scammer. She was asking rich men, very wealthy billionaires, for some money, and she was starting a business with the idea of siphoning it off. I'm sure that's what her game was. And she paid her own family like ridiculous amounts of money. They were on like $200,000 a year for doing nothing, just to be on the payroll, just so that. And I was like, well, she's she's really an unpleasant character, but you know what? I can see that there is love for her children there. And so that's not to negate the fact that she was defrauding people. It's not denying the fact that some staff were being worked to the bone, but just to be able to see that good part of her helped me stop demonizing her. It made her somehow human, and to be able to take on the capacity of, like, she is a human being too. She wants to be happy. She wants to be well. So that's the approach that I take. But if you go through all your day and think, well, this person has thought about how to have it come together. So for instance, today, did somebody make you a cup of coffee or a meal or something like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
And who does the cooking in your household?
Oh, I do.
And who does the shopping?
I do.
All right. So it's all good. So who does the cleaning
Oh, we both do.
and the laundry?
Oh, we do our own laundry.
Okay. So, but
But I
somebody,
do okay. But I do prepare the coffee. I bring my wife her coffee. I make her breakfast in bed, and so she appreciates that. And
yeah, right. And how, when she says to you, thanks for making the coffee and breakfast,
yeah,
how do you feel?
I feel good because I
Right,
made her happy.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
And so if you go through every single act like that throughout the day, so if she says thank you, who puts out the garbage?
I do.
So if she says thank you for putting out the garbage and bringing in the bins,
Yeah.
the trash can,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
then it's like, oh, thanks for bringing it in. So when I met my partner a couple of years ago, I just started doing it. And in the beginning, it was like, it felt really weird to, like, oh, thanks for doing the dishes. Thanks for buying the groceries. Thanks for paying the rent. So I get an acknowledgement from the real estate agent that says, thank you for paying the rent at your property. And so I text him and I go, thanks for paying the rent, with a few little love hearts in there, of course. And and there's something about the fact that we are both sort of saying thank you all the time. It means that the resentment that can so easily build doesn't arise. And it also means that both of us are aware of actually the contributions that everybody's making all the time. So there isn't this sense of the domestic burden is on my shoulders as a woman, which it usually is. It's just really commonly that way. Obviously not in your
Oh,
household.
I enjoy cooking. So she doesn't really like cooking. I enjoy
Yeah,
cooking,
yeah,
so it
right.
works out.
Right, right. But in a lot of households, women are
It's not the way.
expected. Not,
No, that's not that
yeah,
way.
and
Yeah,
and in
absolutely.
my previous relationships, I've always been lumbered with the domestic burden, and it's like somehow because of my body shape, I'm supposed to enjoy cleaning and cooking, and it's just I've done it because that's what the cultural conditioning is, and I can do it.
Yes.
Except I was really bad at cleaning, um, Y but, yeah, the guys would never kind of clean up, or they would just felt that that wasn't their responsibility or something. They weren't engaging with it. They weren't also acknowledging the extent of the work, the amount of time that is part of that. And so if you actually say thank you for every single thing you do, somebody does for you, then your life goes just so much happier. And what happens as a result of receiving gracefully, Mr. Rogers, he talked about, people need to receive with grace, receive gracefully. I saw it in
Yeah.
an interview with Charlie Rice way back in the 1970s. And and what happens is that when you receive gracefully and you internalize all the gifts that are coming to you, all the acts of generosity, all the kindnesses that are coming for you, your heart shifts, your face shifts. And so you have what's called a Duchenne smile as opposed to a fake smile. So the Duchenne smile, you know it. You kind of instantly respond to it. Your face opens and lightens. With the fake smile or the social smile, the eyes don't crinkle, and it just sort of is from the bottom down. So it's a mouth only experience, and
Oh,
that's the difference.
it's like when I get to speak, when I get to tell some, when I get to speak about podcasting, they could
Yeah,
see it in my face that
right.
you really do love this. They could see that this is what I love to do. This is what I'm passionate about. This is, and they like, wow, you really do love this. And my wife, when she's like, we had today, we actually spoke, and she's like, when did you know? Like she's like, when did you know you wanted to do a podcast? I said, well, since 2019, I had wanted to start a podcast, but the fear in myself, like I wouldn't do it. I was just record and delete, record and delete, recorded. And so when the pandemic hit and I was furloughed from work, I was like, I was tired of playing video games, and I finally decided just to press record and upload the episode. It was 5 minutes long. It was it wasn't that long, but the fact that I had started it and it like just opened up so many things, like things that I didn't know I had inside of me. Like I didn't know I was capable of doing this because I was making up excuses like, oh, I sound horrible. Who's gonna want to listen to me? Why am I gonna do this? And when I finally did press record, it was like this big weight was lifted off me. And when I finally uploaded and released the episode and all that, it was like, wow, this is this is cool. This is good. This I enjoy this. And then when I started being more consistent, started doing more frequently, people started listening and people started messaging me and telling me, "Oh man, you have a good show. That I needed to hear this." That to me was like, "Oh man, like I have." It was like this feeling inside me, like I'm doing something good. I'm doing something that's helping people. I got to keep doing this. And so I've been going crazy doing. I've probably recorded, no lie, close to 300 interviews in the two
Nice,
years.
nice, nice. And there's also something about it's to me when you speak, it sounds devotional, and I don't mean that in a negative or whatever, but it's like there's something about this. It has I can't, I don't know the another word for it. Really a devotional, heartfelt sense of this is my expression. And it sounds so weird I'm saying this, but kind of God, of the generosity of God kind of passing through me towards others. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I can hear there.
yeah. Even my wife was amazed. She's like, she says, "I know you're serious about this, and I know you love doing this because I was a big gamer and I would spend hours gaming, hours, and I just completely abandoned it. I just left it alone, stopped gaming, and started focusing on this because this is where I felt I needed to be at. This is where I felt that I needed to do,
Mhm.
and just being able to find, because I'm. It took me a long time. It took me till I was 44 to finally figure out what I was passionate about.
Mhm.
And people laugh, people be like, "What?" I'm like, yeah, it took me 44 years to find out what I was passionate about, what I love to do, and this is what I love to do. So
Some people never
ever,
find out what they never find that inner joy to, like, what is their thing, you know? Some people never get there, and some people have never felt love. They have never internalized love, you know? So, yeah, if it comes at 44 or 94, if you get it, you get it, and then, gee, wow, isn't your life so much better for it? What furlough was such a good thing for you?
oh yeah, it was a. I wish everyone could have this feeling. I wish everyone could find what they love to do, and be able to do it. And sometimes we're conditioned to not follow our dreams, not to follow our passions and what we have. And I look at little kids and I'm amazed at how their energy is and how they believe in everything and they believe they're capable of doing anything. And sometimes I was like, maybe we need to get back to that. Maybe we need to get back to that childish mentality where you have we have belief in your abilities and what you're doing, and we kind of lose that as we get older because again we start getting programming from friends, school, the system, everything, and we lose sight of what makes us happy in a
So
way.
I'm really, really curious. Like, do you mind if I kind of inquire into that? Because this is kind of one of my ongoing things. This is
Yes,
like a
let's do
question I
this.
have.
Let's do this.
So if you're okay with that, because um, I I haven't known what I wanted to do, but I've never done what other people expected me to do.
Do
I'm not good at conformity, which has caused me tons of problems because I don't conform. And so people kind of go, but I want you to do that. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it just because you said I should. I want to know, I want to understand why this would be
why?
beneficial. And also why would I want to work like a dog for somebody else to get rich? Like, what is that? Why would
Yeah,
I want to do that? I'm not
but
interested in your great dream. I'm interested in just
my
having a
dream.
nice job. I just want an enjoyable job. I don't want to be passionate about my job. I just want to enjoy my job, go in, do my work, do it well, have nice conversations with people, and then go home and have my life. That's all I was ever interested in. I was really not this career person who was very ambitious. Where my ambition was understanding my own mind and all the rest, and becoming a happier person. But I never thought that could ever be in the corporate world or rising in some career ladder thing. And so what I'm really curious here with is, so when you were a little boy, I mean, you had a ton of stuff to deal with, so I'm not negating that. But there is something about there's something about denying who you are in order to become somebody else's idea of who you should be, that you kind of take on board. And
Yeah.
that kind of means killing off your emotions and your connection to your heart. And so I'm really curious. I don't think women as much do it, but I noticed that guys really do it a lot, and they kind of become this cardboard cutout of masculinity.
Yes, because that's something that's something I love to talk about, especially if the fact that men, the thing inside is men aren't supposed to show their emotions. Men aren't supposed to cry, or men aren't supposed to, like I said, be they're supposed to be have the answers for everything, or they're supposed to be strong enough to deal with everything in their life. But that's not the case. We're human beings just like everyone else. But society has it that so that we believe that, oh no, we can't show emotions. We can't seek help when we need help. And I just, me being raised by two women, that kind of, that's never been the situation with me where I've I've been able to share my emotions, and I've been able to show empathy and all that to other people because of the way they brought me up. They showed me that it was okay to cry. They showed me that it was okay to show my emotions. But as far as society goes, men aren't supposed to do that. And especially when we're going through struggles and all that, it's Chris Rock says is a funny says a funny thing. He says the only three things that are loved unconditionally in this world are women, children, and dogs. Men men are not loved unconditionally. They're loved on the basis of what they provide. And I thought that was crazy. I'm like,
It's interesting you should say women are loved unconditionally, because let me tell you, it's
That's
but
what
on
he
this
said. That's
side of
not
the
what I said. That's what Chris Rock said.
I get it, I get it. But on this side of the counter, women have a tremendous pressure to look. It's like our bodies are public property, and we're supposed to be the compassionate ones, we're supposed to be the wise ones, and we're supposed to do it on much lower budget, on much lower income. So we're supposed to do it for free. We're supposed to give. We're supposed to not have anything back. We're supposed to not want or to ask. We're supposed to just be ever giving. So actually, that's why so many women are completely exhausted and resentful because of that idea. But I was thinking, and you can tell me whether this is true. To me, I look at guys and they feel like they have to, what's the right way of putting it? So, um, appease or, that's not, the person who is going to approve of them is like maybe their father. Obviously, your father died, but father, and maybe a mentor or, their mates. You've got to, do the right thing by your mates.
Yeah.
But kind of that's it. Whereas for women, I feel like women have to navigate, family members and friends and the the boss, and then other people over here and other people over here. So the number of people that women have to kind of navigate their connections with and keep on good standing is about 20 times more people than what men do. I don't know. Does that have any correlation with you in your world?
Mm, not no, because I guess because I was raised by strong, independent women. Like, so to me, I've seen what a strong woman is, and I'm not intimidated by it. I'm actually, my wife is a very independent woman and very strong minded, and so there are men who are intimidated by it. Not so much me, because like I said, I was raised by strong, independent women, and so and I don't think it correlates with me. It might with other men, but with me personally, no.
Mm. Okay. I just, I sort of wonder about why it is that guys shut off their emotions. And maybe it's as simple as when they're little boys, they're not given the same space to share their feelings as girls are. Maybe
Oh,
it's as
because
simple as
because
that.
when you're a boy, you're like, oh, you're not supposed to cry. Only girls cry. Like, you got to be strong. You can't.
Man up.
Yes, that's, you got to man up, and that's not right. That's just not right.
Yeah.
Is these, and so you have to realize, like, how what you are saying to these kids. What are you saying to these children? And like how you talked about earlier, is, imagine how, if the self talk that you make to yourself, how is it that you talk to your children?
Mm.
So that's also key, and that's also very important.
One client, I was asking him about this, and he said what he thinks is that when, like, a gay guy, somebody say homophobic, and they look at a gay guy and they're really like derisive, and he said, there is a certain envy or jealousy that arises in the homophobic man for the gay man to be who they are, to express their sort of
A-
sexuality more
a-
broadly or something.
and like, and that might be true. That might be where the fact that their true selves, they're willing to be their authentic selves, whereas some men feel that they can't be them true selves.
Mm,
They can't let their true selves be out, because then they're going to be judged by other people.
mm,
Me personally, I don't care on other, I don't other people's opinions of me don't matter to me. It's what I think of myself
mm,
that matters to me. Of
mm,
course, what my wife thinks and stuff,
mm,
I take that into consideration. But for the most part, I could care less what anyone thinks of me.
Mm,
That to me is doesn't matter to me because
mm,
it's their opinion. It's not fact. Whatever they believe, whatever they believe that the kind of person I am, that's their opinion of me. It might not be the truth. It might not be how other people see me. So it's again, it's everyone has their opinion. I don't me personally, I have my opinion on certain people, but again, I go by how I interact with people. I don't go by how, oh, you shouldn't be friends with that person. They did this to me, but they might not have done nothing to me. They might have been nothing but good to me and kind to me. So because you have an issue with them, I'm supposed to have an issue with them?
mm,
No, I don't. I don't. That's not
mm,
me.
mm, mm. It is definitely hard sometimes when you feel I struggle with that. When someone does something and I feel hurt by that, then I find it very hard to there's a reason I do loving kindness practice, and I've been doing it for 20 years, you know.
Yeah.
It's not because I started with a good baseline. It's because 'cause I'm like the first time I meditated, it was a loving kindness I think we did what did we do? We did mindfulness in the morning and loving kindness in the afternoon. And I did there, and the teacher at the front said, "Oh, how did you go?" And I said, "Wow, I didn't know I hated everyone, but I hate everyone." That was my starting point. I was just angry. I had good reason to hate them, and they were bad, and they were bad, and I couldn't trust them, and they'll betray me, and they're mean, and da 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 da. And so it went on, and I was like, wow, I hate everyone. That's just so not a good place to be for sure. But I also didn't want to get caught in that thing where everybody's wonderful, everyone's lovely, and not have that discernment and acuity to go, that guy looks like Putin. Actually, I had a conversation with somebody this week, and he was going to give me some coaching. I won a voucher, and he was going to give me some coaching. It started on a topic of one thing. I go to Toastmasters to improve my public speaking skills, and it's really good. I find it really good. Anyway, I won this voucher with this guy, and he was going to help me with my public speaking skills. And then he started to go, "Oh yeah, but." And basically, I can make you a star with your business, and I can make you millions. So he was like predatory and creepy, it was like soft sell. It was really, ugh. And so you've got to keep your eye out for people who are like that,
Yeah,
for
I feel
sure.
yeah, definitely no. I feel you on that because like, but since I've shifted my mindset, I've the people that are supposed to come into my life are coming into my life. The interviews that I'm supposed to have are happening because of the energy I'm putting out there and the way I'm looking at life. Like, had I been a negative person or had I been, this conversation wouldn't have happened.
Sure, that's right. When
It
you're always right, when everybody else is the
was wrong.
problem,
Yeah.
then you don't have the capacity to say, well, actually, maybe I'm wrong. What are the chances of being right? Actually, chances of being right are about 2%. The rest of the time, you're probably wrong. But yeah, we hold on tight to that 2%, like as if it's 98%. I'm not going to waver. I'm so right. And actually, chances are, you look at all the mitigating circumstances, and really, you're probably wrong, but I always came from this very opinionated family where to be wrong was like, oh, you're so hypocritical, whatever, you don't have any ambiguity. That's how it was. And really, I was just wrong, and what is this thing you have to be right? And oh, good Lord, get over yourself. I'm sorry. That's what
Oh no.
I had to learn that, would you
Oh,
rather be right or would you rather be happy? And I
I'd
was like,
rather be
well, I'll
happy.
I'll be happy when I'm right. That was my answer. So I had to relinquish. I'm like, how much really do I know? Actually, I know almost nothing. What am I getting all head up about?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Like I said, one of the reasons I do the live now is because of the interaction with my guests.
yeah.
Like my friend Sarah, I love her to death. She's amazing. She's also a fellow podcaster. The one she said when the comments of blind spots that you made, she says, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense to her." And then Obaimi, who I said who's been a loyal supporter since day one, he goes, it was a good guest, good knowledge, but he's got to go. But he's delight listening to your panel, and that's why I do it. And then so sick diggy. I do a sports talk show Thursdays and Fridays. I'm a co-host with my friend Brian Snow and my friend Cole Johnson, and they invited me to their platform. And Sick is one of their listeners, and the reason I'll go live is because of them, because of the interaction that we do with the guest, with the chat. And since then, he's been supportive, and he's very knowledgeable. He share like he always shares great comments like this, where he goes, furthermore, some people are fearful that being their true selves could be used against them by other people, especially other men. And that's kind of true. That's kind of what I kind of feel like we're not allowed to be ourselves because we don't want to be judged. So this is why I enjoy doing my podcast live now, because it's crazy, because it started with strictly audio, then I started doing pre-recorded, and then I evolved to doing a live Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And so it's great to be able to have them interact and put comments like this, where they talk about toxic people and con artists in the world always have to be mindful and self-aware, which is true.
And I want to say, now that you're a happier person, you're more, feeling at ease. And it's a loaded question, but do you
Right.
feel that you're more able to discern who are the sharks, who are the good people, who are the bad people? Is your
Yes.
capacity to judge any better?
Yes. And I go off of energy. I go off of
Right.
vibrations.
So you're hearing your inner voice. You're really
Hmm.
engaging with your own reality, and and noticing, right? This is in
This
information.
this is the
It's
person I
really guiding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm all about the law of attraction and energy and positive vibes and all that. And like I said, had my energy been different, this conversation wouldn't have happened,
That's
because
right. Yeah.
the way your energy is, you have some great energy. You like, that's why when you said you used to be an angry person, I can't see it. I
That's
can't
right.
see it.
That's right. I've worked really hard. Let me tell you, I worked really fucking hard at that. I'm like unequivocal because yesterday I did a podcast and I was really facetious and I said, yep, see, still plenty of material to work with. I'm not perfect. I'm deeply
No,
flawed,
we're not.
deeply,
We're
deeply
not.
flawed.
We're none of us are perfect. We have our issues. I still have my moments where but it's it's knowing that, all right, I'm not in the right good mood right now. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. So when you're able to like catch yourself and be like, let me shift my energy. Let me shift my attitude to where I need it to be. Because there's sometimes, listen, everyone's not going to be happy every day. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Life is life. You're going to deal with some circumstances that just happen. But there's times where you just I don't know. I look at it like, I just think something bad happens. I'm like, all right, what's the lesson that I need to learn from this?
Yeah, so this is like, all right, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. This is
Hmm.
that saying. It is
Yeah.
absolutely that saying.
Mm.
And what you're saying is, and like not everybody is able to do it. So this is one of the confusing things in my world is that like my sister and my father died, but my brothers also, their sister and father died too. And my mother, she lost her baby and her husband, and none of that was easy. Like it was very complicated circumstances. And I would say to everybody here, speaking of men taking care of themselves, if you have a symptom, go to the doctor. because my father didn't and he died at 46. So don't do that. Learn from that mistake. So just it's really important. People love you and they want you to stay alive. We stay healthy, not for ourselves, but for other people. But that's my little spiel there that I like to just put in there for listeners. So, um, but what was I going to say? I was going to say something really profound. Oh, I'm completely lost now. What were we talking about before I did my big death thing? Oh, yeah, no,
Oh,
this is what I was going to say. This is what I was going to
go
say.
ahead.
What I was going to say is you and me, we sit here and we go, wow, I'm the problem. The one common denominator in all my relationships is me. And I'm kind of a shitty person, so I'm going to turn it around. But I look at my family members and I'm like, the one common denominator in all their relationships is everybody else. Like they never take responsibility for their crappy behavior. They think that if they just try harder to be not so reactive, that they won't be reactive, as opposed to going, well, I'm actually doing something. There's something internal that I'm creating that is making me do this, and not seeing it's like they don't see it as a pattern, or they don't see it as a thing.
They,
So
they
not
see
everybody has the capacity. Yeah,
they see it as everyone else is doing them wrong, but
exactly.
they don't see what they're doing wrong in the situation. Like they don't see any of the things that they do wrong, and that it's funny to me because I know when I messed up. I know when I'm the guilty party in the situation. Like there was a situation where the wife had already told me she didn't like me doing something, and with me, I don't like for her when to curse at me, but she started cursing at me when I did this thing that she had already told me that she didn't like, and I didn't get upset over it because I knew I was in the wrong. So I was like, and she's like, I know you don't like when I curse at you, but you just, I was like, no, I'm actually okay with it. I'm not upset over it because I know I was wrong. I know what I did was wrong,
Mm,
and it got you to this point.
mm,
So I understand why you're cursing at me. I
mm,
understand this, and so I'm good with it.
mm.
I'm good with it because I know I was the wrong. I did wrong in this part.
So there's this really good, really wise teacher from about 1,000 years ago called Shantideva, and he says, when y- if somebody has a stick and they're hitting you, do you blame the stick for hitting you? And
No,
we say, of course you are, you blame the person.
yeah,
But in a way, each of us is like a stick. We're reacting to something that's come in on the left, to something's coming on the left, to kind of spit it out on the right. We're like this channel, unless we go, the buck stops here. And if we do, the buck stops here, then we go, actually, I'm not going to use that stick. But when somebody is hitting us with a stick, at some level, that's what you've just described with your wife, that she's like bringing it in from the left to hit with the right. So unless she's
yeah,
so does it make sense what I'm saying? Yeah.
yeah, it does.
And to think about it like from that perspective, and I've got a community group to improve bicycle paths and what's called active transport, public transport and stuff like that. And I was thinking about drivers that hoon, like when you go, all right, dear listener, when you go around a corner, you're driving, then make sure you keep an eye out for pedestrians and cyclists, because that's the most vulnerable time. So I've done my bit. But people who hoon, the reason is that we've created an infrastructure, a road infrastructure and a car size and capacity that means that that person has the capacity to hoon. We've created that. It's like they're just it's coming in from the left, and they haven't realized that the buck stops here before it spits out on the right. So um it when I speak to people who are like crazy car drivers, I just really go, actually, you're it's not you who is the bad guy. It's the fact that we've built these roads and we've built this society, which means that the death rate in the US for cars is something like 40,000 people a year are killed because people drive. It's the single biggest killer on the planet for the under 40s. Like, it's insane. And but we've created a society that is like that. So it's more that people are responding, interacting with the environment, not recognizing the buck stops here.
So see, you were wondering like how long this episode would go on, right? And I said 35, 45 minutes, right?
I knew that was optimistic. I know what I'm like. I knew it. Yesterday I was booked in for 40 minutes and I was just like an hour and a half later. I'm like, okay, well, I've got to get some lunch now.
But this is what happens when you're having such a great conversation and you and the person actually connect, and it's just you don't realize that time flies by. It's because you're having such a great conversation that it's like, okay, like, oh wow, hour and 20 minutes already. Wow, who knew But this is what happens when you have great guests, and I've been blessed and fortunate enough that these guests that I've been having are amazing. They're just some great guests to have on, because yes, they have stories to share. They're here to share, to, if they have a book, whatever. But the fact that they're here sharing their stories and sharing what they have, the knowledge that they have to share, to me, it's like this is great, and especially when, for me, my none of my shows are scripted. I don't script my shows. I prefer it to be authentic. I rather it be come off where we're just having a great conversation and we're just being ourselves. And so, but people could tell that's why people enjoy my show, because it's real. It's just two people having a great conversation and showing that, hey, we're regular people. We're just having it. We're just sharing stuff out here that people need to hear. People need it in their lives, and I'm just grateful that I'm able to do it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I do want to just mention that if you're a listener, if our listener, not your listener, if our listener
It's our
would
listener, because it's our show right
it's
now.
our
Yes,
show, exactly. If
yes.
our listener would like to, I haven't quite got it set up
Oh yeah.
on the
Oh, hold
website
on,
yet.
hold on yet, because this you have it. You, in a couple of minutes, you will be. It's plug time. It's where it's your time. It's where you get to plug everything and
I was hearing you wind up, so I wanted to make sure
no,
somebody said, so
you
what
you
about,
get you get your time to plug away. You get, believe me, you get, everyone gets their time to plug away, and let everybody know where they can find their content. Matter of fact, this is the time now. So I'm gonna solo you in, and you get to plug away.
oh no, don't solo me, and I don't like being soloed in. Take
There
me
you
out.
go.
I want to talk to you.
Well, you're talking to the audience now.
All right. Hello, dear listener and dear watcher. Thank you very much for coming along. So if you are interested in 5 meditations to do on the go, so it's not about, you don't have to sit for 20 minutes and still your mind, anything like that. It's really about just going about your daily life and integrating meditation in as you go, to become more aware of what is going on in your mind and how you respond to everything, then just email me. It's wendy@kindlycutthecrap.com. So that's just exactly how it sounds. So kindlycutthecrap.com. And my name is Wendy. So and the website is kindlycutthecrap.com. So feel free to jump on there. And I've actually got some things coming up on the website. I haven't quite got around to doing it. My website guy's doing it. But yeah, please feel free to inquire for that. And if you have any questions, I always love to hear what people have to say. So yeah, just contact me. No problems. That's
All
my
right,
bit.
that's your bit.
I've
All right,
never had
that was.
anybody ask me. Somebody please write me an email and say, yes, I have a
All right,
question.
so someone please write her an email. Send her a
Thank
message,
you.
please. Just someone in the
Thank
audience.
you.
I would greatly appreciate it, please. But don't leave just yet, okay?
Yep.
All right. So hold on. If you want to say your goodbyes, say it right quick.
Thanks so much, everyone. And it's been great being on the show. Thanks so much, Wise.
Thank you for being on.
Okay.
Now it is time for shout outs. Big shout out to everybody in the chat. Obaimi, Sarah, Tony, Sick, Brian. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the support, man. Love you guys. Big shout out to the Real Wise fam, Brandy J, Poppy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. Appreciate you, baby. Big shout out to Wendy Nash for coming through and just lightening up the day. This was a great conversation. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at @wise_b_blunt, Instagram at @wise_b_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook/wise76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.